Hi, my name is Ethan. Today is Tuesday, December 10th, and welcome to The Daily Show. We have a full show for you guys today, with an interview on the front lines of Syria and an interview with Fox CEO Roger Ailes. But first, here's today's media roundup.
The point being, we had to take Saddam Hussein out. We had just been punched in the face with 9/11. The Afghanistan war was starting up. We had to do what we did. I think it was the smartest thing George Bush did. He restored confidence.
Let me guess, was the second smartest thing he did telling us that Saddam had WMDs? This is yet again another example of Fox's outright conservative reporting. This one-sided reporting skews America's perspective on war politics.
If these stray puppies were born in America, they might have a better chance at finding a loving home. But because they were born in Baghdad, they are candidates for the Iraqi government's street dog culling program.
Using puppies to make the American public hate Afghanistan even more? How about reporting on how the war is actually going instead of an irrelevant story? This is only fueling the fire of American dissent towards the Middle East, with 48% of Americans already admitting of having negative opinions towards the Middle East. Next up, we have an interview with Fox CEO Roger Ailes. Today we have a very special guest for you guys today. Please help me welcome Roger Ailes, the CEO of Fox News.
Thanks for having me on the show, Ethan.
How are you doing today, Roger?
Doing great, Ethan.
So what types of methods does Fox News use when reporting about the war?
When we report about a topic as important as war, we send investigative reporters to conduct interviews with the government sources, as well as heavily rely on our in-the-field reporters.
Is it true that the government has a heavy influence on the information that it gets from the public from on-site war reporters?
Any important information received from our on-site reporters is relayed to the public just as we got it from them.
I've heard reports about how the Pentagon will invite analysts to secret meetings when they urge these analysts to speak positively about the war. Does this happen with your analysts?
I've heard this going on with different news organizations and their analysts. At this current time, I can't speak of this occurring with any of our employees. I can say that a lot of our information or different stories does come from inside sources and the Pentagon.
What do you have to say about the allegations that your field reporters are intimidated by the government and paid more by your company to not honestly report of all of what they see while they're in the field?
Again, any important information that my reporters find in the field, they send back here and we relay to the public.
What do you have to say about the claims that your news corporation delivers news with a clear opinion and political party?
This news corporation reports news that we find important to the public in a manner that addresses the public's interest. Our viewers tune in for a certain style of news. This is what we give them. We generally garner flack for some stories, but our ratings stay consistent, which keep our investors happy. This is the end goal.
It was great hearing from you today, Mr. Ailes. I wish your news station all the best of luck this year.
Thank you, Ethan.
Reporting live from the front lines of Damascus, Syria, our reporter Ben has a story. Take it over.
Relentless, indiscriminate. Syria's regime is trying to crush the revolution. The International Committee of the Red Cross has called for a humanitarian ceasefire.
Hi, my name is Ben. I'm reporting live from Damascus, Syria with Martin, a frontline news correspondent for Fox News. How are you?
I'm good, Ben. Things have been crazy over here. There's been daily attacks between the military and the rebels, and they've all kept us on guard because of that.
So, how long have you been in Syria for now?
I've been in Syria for about 3 weeks right now.
Can you describe the conditions to our viewers, what it's like over here?
The conditions are terrible. They seem to be getting worse every day. There's thousands of Syrian refugees right now leaving daily, and I don't blame them. It's definitely not a place that you want to be right now.
So what type of stories does Fox have you reporting on?
Well, before I left, I was briefed on the situation that was occurring over here in Syria. Once I arrived, though, things changed due to safety concerns, and because of that, I'm not on the front line anymore, as much as I would like to be. Fox wants the most up-to-date stories so they can report on stories that other news stations don't have yet. So my daily goal is to find stories that other news stations aren't reporting on.
Can you describe what kind of sense of direction Fox gives you when reporting on a news story?
Well, I have a lot of freedom to basically report on what I want to, as long as I keep my crew and myself safe first. And like I said before, Fox wants the most cutting-edge news, so that is my daily goal. Lately, due to the violent attacks, though, I've been focusing more on getting the story to the Syrian rebels and the locals here in Damascus.
So you do have a lot of freedom.
Yeah, I do have a lot of freedom to find my own stories, and this is something a lot of journalism ultimately don't get to have, excuse me. So I know that I'm lucky in that regard.
Lately, there's been a lot of allegations that Fox News only has been reporting on what they want their viewers to hear. What are your thoughts on this subject and the flack being received?
Well, I know that there has always been a lot of negative feedback about the style of reporting we do. We're trying to relate it to our viewer base, and our ratings have, because of that, steadily climbed over the years, meaning that we must be doing something right. I know that as a reporter, we wish to get the most truthful news to our viewers, but as an employee of Fox News, I must respect them as a business.
In a recent video released by Fox News, chemical weapons have been reported across the country of Syria. Have you seen any signs of these weapons?
Since I arrived here in Syria, I've seen terrible things, violent attacks on innocent civilians, car bombs, and daily machine gun fights between both sides. Things do not look like they're getting better anytime soon, and with this being said, I do not personally see any chemical weapons at this time.
Well, last week I was watching Fox Nightly News, and they were broadcasting actually one of your stories, where you had alleged viewed a chemical weapon attack with your own two eyes. What can you say about this?
Oh yeah, this story was manipulated in a way to get the viewers worked up, to produce shock and awe. Fox edits videos this way to gain American support towards going to the war, or to gain support towards American sending missiles over here.
So Martin, if this is true, why do you think the very company you work for censors its news stories like this?
Well, Fox News ultimately has the last say in what's going to be on the nightly news each night, but you also have to take into account our government. Fox is pressured into reporting on things that they may not otherwise report on, and what many people do not see is what's going on behind the scenes. The government gives us information such as reports on chemical weapons attacks, even though we do not see these things, and it's to help boost the positive outlook on situations that the American stance on the war. This type of behind-the-scenes propaganda has been going on throughout every war in American history.
One last question, Martin. Do you think the news that is being reported is censored due to the economical profits that are made from these stories?
Absolutely. In the end, it's all about the money for the news corporations. We are here to give the viewers what they want to see by reporting on the interesting and violent attacks that keep the rating high. We are able to pretty much say what we want to say, and this may not be the journalism of the past, but it's certainly the direction that we're going in.
All right. Hey, thanks, Martin. Thanks for your time.
Ben, it's
Good
always been a
luck
pleasure.
with the rest of your time in Syria.
Thank you.
It's going to cost about $200 million a day for this entourage to go.
$200 million a day, 3,000 people.
$500 million. It's going to be somewhere around there.
Ha ha ha!
Some people say that it is up to $2 billion for 10 days. Is that true?
I don't know.
And how many ships will be there? 34 warships, possibly. I don't know.
Come on, seriously? First off, why does Fox feel the need to report on a story that has nothing to do with politics? In Rich Media, Poor Democracy, Robert McChesney says that our era is increasingly depoliticized, and Fox News isn't bringing us value from information with stories like this.
Focus on the president's trip to India and throughout Asia.
Big controversy as to what the real cost of the trip is, as much as $1 billion for the trip.
Fox News is trying to tarnish Obama's credibility because they're now really conservative network and because they're hyping up a story that could have been on TMZ. Come on, Fox, what are you doing?
Hello, welcome to Moment of Zen. So what have we learned today, folks? In our beginning segment, the Daily Roundup, we learned that news channels can use words, distracting words, and stories to help fill or cloud the viewer's judgment on war. Fox News has garnered a lot of negative attention because of the wild information their news analysts splurt out on numerous shows daily. It is hard for the general public to know what's true and what's false.
In our studio interview, we were happy to have Roger Ailes, who is the CEO of Fox News, with us. We questioned Mr. Ailes on how Fox News retrieves its stories and if they use inside government sources. We questioned Mr. Ailes on if it makes news stories for a profit rather than for the common good. This type of propaganda we read about in Herman and Chomsky, Manufacturing Consent. Mr. Alias didn't speak into much depth on any of the subjects, but lucky we were able to get more truth out in our location interview with the Frontlines correspondent Martin.
In our on-location interview with Martin at Fox News, we learned what it's like to be over there in Syria right now. Martin gave us more information on what it's like to be a frontline journalist. He spoke on why his news station censors his very own stories and how much freedom he actually has. It seems like a lot of stories get caught in the filter of the media. They always find a way to affect something that the news station does not want to take a chance on. For example, losing profits or viewers due to the content that they broadcast, which in turn affects revenue and does not make the investors very happy.
In my in-depth analysis, I took a look on Fox reporting of Obama's trip to India. Fox News definitely either had their facts wrong or were just showing an outright conservative perspective on the president. This kind of reporting is kind of stupid and should be on TMZ or E because it has no political value. And in McChesney's reading, Rich Media Pornography, he says that our era has become increasingly depoliticized and Fox is doing nothing to help this problem that he stated for us. I'm your host, Ethan, and that's going to be another Daily Show, folks.